The grand chamber stretched higher than any building on Earth. Ho stood at the central podium, surrounded by thousands of alien delegates from across the galaxy. Their eyes, in all shapes and colors, watched him with curiosity. Some looked friendly, most looked doubtful. He had practiced this speech for months. Every word mattered. This was humanity's chance to prove they belonged here among the stars. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Ho began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I come before you today representing Earth and all of humanity. We are grateful for the opportunity to present our proposal for cooperative mining operations in the Outer Rim territories." He activated the holographic display. Images of human mining equipment floated in the air, rotating slowly. The technology looked simple compared to what other species had, but it worked. Humans had tested it on asteroids near Mars. The results were impressive. "Our drilling systems use adaptive resonance technology," Ho continued. "They can adjust to different mineral compositions in real time. This means higher efficiency and less waste than traditional methods." A laugh interrupted him, clear and sharp as breaking glass. Ho looked up. On the highest tier of the chamber sat Queen of the Empire. She was young, perhaps the youngest ruler in the council's history. Her silver hair flowed down her shoulders like liquid metal. Her eyes, bright purple, gleamed with amusement. "Adaptive resonance," she leaned forward on her throne. "Is that what you call it? We mastered that technology 8,000 years ago. We have moved far beyond such primitive methods." The chamber fell quiet. Delegates shifted in their seats. Ho felt heat rise to his face, but he kept his expression calm. "Yes, Your Majesty, but our approach combines resonance with—" "With what?" interrupted again. "Human desperation," she smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Tell me, diplomat, why should this council accept a proposal from a species that only learned to leave their own planet 300 years ago? Most of us were traveling between stars when your ancestors were living in caves." Ho's colleague, Wu, watched from the observation gallery. She gripped the railing, her knuckles white. She wanted to shout to defend him, but she knew it would only make things worse. "Your Majesty," Ho said carefully, "humanity may be young in galactic terms, but we have unique perspectives on problem solving. Our history of overcoming challenges with limited resources has taught us." "Taught you what?" stood from her throne. The movement silenced everyone. When a queen stood during a council session, it meant she was about to make an important point. "Taught you to beg for scraps from your betters." Ambassador Yang, the elderly diplomat seated below the queen, shifted uncomfortably. He had advised against this approach, but rarely listened to advice. "Let me be clear," his voice carried across the chamber. "I opposed humanity's provisional membership from the beginning. This council has standards. We represent civilizations that have mastered faster-than-light travel, quantum communication, and energy manipulation at the stellar level. What have humans mastered? You barely crawl between stars. Your ships limp through space like wounded animals." Ho opened his mouth to respond, but she raised her hand. "I challenge you, human diplomat. Show us one achievement of your species that surpasses anything the Empire has created. Just one. If you can do that, I will personally support your proposal." The chamber waited. Ho looked at his holographic display, at the mining equipment that suddenly seemed so inadequate. He thought about the response he could give. He could talk about human art, music, literature. He could mention the way humans adapted to different environments, survived disasters that would have destroyed other species. He could speak about human compassion, creativity, determination. But he knew none of it would matter, not here, not now. Saw his hesitation and laughed again. "As I thought, you have nothing to show, nothing that justifies your presence here." She looked around the chamber, addressing all the delegates. "This is why I question the wisdom of accepting every species that develops basic. The Galactic Council should be reserved for civilizations that have actually achieved greatness, not for those still learning to walk among the stars." Several delegates nodded. Others looked away, unwilling to meet Ho's eyes. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, continued, sitting back down on her throne, your species will develop something worth our attention. Until then, I suggest humanity focus on growing up before attempting to sit at the adults' table. The silence that followed was crushing. Ho stood at the podium, his presentation still glowing behind him. He could feel thousands of eyes watching, waiting to see how the human would react. Would he argue, plead, become angry? He did none of those things. Slowly, deliberately, Ho deactivated his holographic display. The images of human technology faded away. He gathered his data tablets and placed them carefully in his case. Every movement was precise, controlled. His face showed nothing. No anger, no shame, no emotion at all. He sealed his case and turned toward the exit. You have nothing to say, called after him. No defense of your primitive species. Ho paused. For a moment, Wu thought he might turn around and speak, but he simply bowed once, a formal gesture of respect to the council as a whole, and continued walking. His footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. No one spoke. No one moved. They watched the human diplomat cross the long floor toward the exit, his back straight, his pace unhurried. Wu met him at the door. She wanted to say something, anything, but his expression stopped her. They walked together through the corridors of the council building, past guards and bureaucrats who stared at them with pity or contempt. Outside, their shuttle waited. Ho climbed aboard without looking back at the towering structure behind them. Wu followed, still silent. As the shuttle lifted into the sky, leaving Arcturus Prime behind, Ho finally spoke. Record a message to Earth's government. Highest priority encryption. Yes, sir, the ship's computer responded. Recommendation, Ho said quietly, staring at the stars outside the window. Withdraw our application for Galactic Council membership. Pursue independent development. We are not wanted here. We should stop pretending otherwise. Wu closed her eyes. She knew he was right, but it hurt to admit it. The shuttle accelerated, jumping to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, in the council chamber, Queen returned to discussing more important matters. The human delegation was already forgotten. But Ho would not forget, and neither would humanity. 3 months had passed since Ho walked out of the council chamber. Earth's government building buzzed with heated debates. President Sang sat in her office, reading Ho's full report for the 5th time. They treated us like children, she muttered. Her advisor, a stern woman named Haewon, nodded. The vote is scheduled for tomorrow. The council is split. Half want to keep trying to prove ourselves. The other half agrees with Ho. What do you think? Sang asked. Haewon was quiet for a moment. I think pride has destroyed more civilizations than war ever did, but I also think sometimes walking away is the bravest choice. The next day, Earth's governing body voted. The chamber was packed with representatives from every nation, every colony. The debate lasted for hours. Some argued that leaving the council would isolate humanity, cutting them off from galactic trade and knowledge. Others insisted that dignity mattered more than acceptance. When the votes were counted, the decision was narrow, 51% in favor of withdrawal. President Sang addressed the world that evening. We came to the stars seeking friends and partners. We found a community that does not value what we have to offer, so we will build our own path forward. We will invest in ourselves, in our own advancement, in our own future. We do not need their permission to be great. On Arcturus Prime, the Galactic Council barely noticed. A minor species withdrawing from provisional membership was not newsworthy. Queen heard about it during a routine briefing. The humans have formally withdrawn their application, Ambassador Yang reported. Good, said without looking up from her data pad. One less distraction. But humanity was far from distracted. Ships that would have carried diplomats now carried scientists and engineers. Money saved from council membership fees flowed into research programs. Human colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan expanded their facilities. On Europa, Ho worked in a research station beneath the ice. He had resigned from diplomatic service the day Earth officially. Now he spent his days studying quantum mechanics and faster-than-light propulsion theory. The station was quiet, isolated, perfect for someone who wanted to forget the humiliation of Arcturus Prime. But he could not forget. Every calculation he made, every equation he solved, was driven by one memory: the sound of SLAF echoing through the council chamber. Halfway across the solar system, a young astrophysicist named Min was making breakthrough after breakthrough. She led a team of 20 researchers, all working on experimental propulsion systems. Traditional faster-than-light drives bent space around a ship, creating a bubble that moved faster than light. But the technology was limited, inefficient, and borrowed from alien designs. Min wanted something different, something human. "What if we don't bend space?" she asked her team during a late-night session. "What if we fold it?" "Fold it how?" her colleague asked. "Like paper. Bring 2 points together, then step across." She drew diagrams on the holographic board. It would require enormous energy, but if we could stabilize the fold for even a microsecond. They worked for months. The first test destroyed 3 unmanned probes. The 4th probe successfully jumped 10,000 kilometers in an instant. The 5th probe jumped 1 light-year. The team celebrated, but Min knew the technology was still unstable. The energy requirements were massive, and the slightest calculation error could tear a ship apart. They needed more time, more resources, more data. Far from the inner solar system, Commander Bora piloted the exploration vessel Frontier's Edge through uncharted space. Her mission was simple: map new systems, search for resources, avoid contact with Council species. In the 3rd month of her voyage, her sensors detected something unusual: a derelict ship drifting near a dead star. The design was unfamiliar, not matching any known species in Council space. "How long has it been here?" Bora asked her science officer. "At least 10,000 years, maybe longer. The hull is cold, no power signatures, but the structure is intact." They boarded carefully, wearing full environmental suits. The ship's interior was empty. No crew, no cargo, just corridors and chambers filled with dust and silence. But in the ship's core, they found something extraordinary. Data cores. Ancient storage devices containing engineering schematics, scientific theories, mathematical formulas. The civilization that built this ship was long gone, but their knowledge remained. Bora transmitted everything back to Earth. "This could change everything," she told her crew. On Earth, teams of scientists studied the alien data. The technology was advanced far beyond anything the Council species used, but it was incomplete, theoretical. The aliens had designed it but never built it. They had the ideas but lacked the resources, one scientist observed. "Or the time," another added. "Whatever happened to them happened before they could finish." Human engineers began the careful work of combining alien theory with human practical knowledge. They took concepts designed thousands of years ago and adapted them, improved them, made them work. 5 years passed. Earth's colonies thrived. Mars became a manufacturing hub. Europa's research stations produced breakthrough after breakthrough. Titan's shipyards built vessels using new designs, new engines, new weapons. Humanity still monitored Council space, but from a distance. They listened to broadcasts, tracked ship movements, gathered intelligence. They were not part of the galactic community, but they stayed informed. It was during this monitoring that human sensors detected something strange: energy signatures appearing near the edge of Council space. Not normal ship signatures, something else, something wrong. At first, the readings made no sense. The energy patterns were unlike anything in human databases. They flickered in and out of normal space, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Ho, still working on Europa, received the data. He studied it for 3 days straight without sleeping. When he finally sent his analysis to Earth's military command, his message was brief. This is not natural. This is not from our galaxy, and it is heading toward Council space. Admiral, commander of Earth's new deep space fleet, read the report. He forwarded it to President Sang with a note. We should warn them. Sang considered it. Earth had no formal relationship with the Council anymore. They owed these aliens nothing. Queen had made it clear that humans were unwelcome. But Sang remembered something her grandmother once told her. Being right is not the same as being good. She sent a message to Arcturus Prime, a simple warning about unusual energy signatures near their border. She included all the data Earth had collected. The Council received the message. They reviewed it. A junior analyst filed it under unverified reports from non-member species. No action was taken. 3 months later, the first Council outpost went silent, then another, then 3 more. By the time the Council realized something was wrong, 12 systems had been attacked. The enemy was like nothing they had ever encountered. Ships that phased in and out of reality, weapons that ignored shields and armor, an intelligence that seemed to consume everything in its path. The Council called them Devourers. On Earth, humans watched the reports coming from Council space. They saw the casualty numbers rising, billions dead, entire worlds consumed. Wu, now a senior advisor to President Sang, sat in the strategy room. They will ask for our help. Let them ask, Sang replied. And ask they did. The first delegation arrived within a week. Diplomats requesting Earth's assistance in fighting the Devourers. They offered apologies for past treatment. They offered trade deals, technology sharing, full Council membership. Sang listened politely, then she declined. Earth is not a member of the Galactic Council. This conflict does not concern us. The second delegation offered more. Resources, territory, seats on the High Council. Sang declined again. The third delegation arrived 2 months later. By then, 27 Council worlds had fallen. This time Sang's answer was even simpler. No. 7 years had passed since Queen humiliated Ho in the Council chamber. She was 33 now, though she felt centuries older. The young queen who had mocked humanity for their primitive technology now stood in the command center of her flagship, watching another world die. How many survivors? She asked. Estimated 40,000 evacuated before the planet fell, her tactical officer reported. The population was 8 billion. Closed her eyes. 8 billion citizens, gone in less than 6 hours. The Devourers had appeared without warning 18 months ago. At first, the Council thought they were raiders from some unknown region of space. They sent warships to drive them back. Those ships never returned. Then they sent fleets. The fleets were destroyed. The Devourers consumed everything. They did not conquer worlds. They unmade them, breaking planets down into their component atoms and absorbing the energy. They were not alive in any way the Council understood. They were more like a force of nature, a storm that ate reality itself. Council scientists studied the enemy frantically. They discovered the Devourers existed partially outside normal space-time. Conventional weapons passed through them. Energy shields meant nothing. The more the Council threw at them, the stronger the Devourers became, adapting to every tactic. Had ordered the fleet to make a stand at the system. It was a strategic choke point, easily defended. If they could stop the Devourers here, they might buy time for the Council to develop new weapons. The battle lasted 3 days. The lost 200 ships. The Devourers lost nothing. Retreat, ordered, her voice hollow. Save who we can. As her fleet, she thought about the human diplomat she had mocked 7 years ago. She wondered if he was watching, if he felt vindicated seeing the mighty empire brought low. On Earth, Ho was watching. He sat in his quarters on Europa, monitoring intercepted Council transmissions. The situation was worse than even the Council admitted publicly. Internal communications showed panic, desperation, and mounting casualties. "They are going to lose," he said aloud, though no one was there to hear. His computer chimed. An incoming message from Admiral. "Have you seen the latest projections?" "Yes," Ho replied. "At their current rate of expansion, the Devourers will reach Council core worlds within 6 months. Arcturus Prime will fall within a year." Ho said nothing. "And after the Council falls," continued, "how long before they reach us?" That was the question, was it not? Humanity might not be part of the Council, but they shared the same galaxy. Once the Devourers finished with Council space, they would keep spreading. Eventually, they would find Earth. But that was a problem for later. Right now, the Council was reaping what it had sown. The fourth delegation arrived at Earth 3 months after the disaster. This time, the Council sent someone different, not diplomats offering deals. They sent Counselor In, a moderate who had quietly opposed treatment of humanity years ago. President Sang, now in her second term, met with him personally. "We were wrong," In said without preamble. "Queen was wrong. The Council was wrong. We treated your species with contempt, and we are paying the price for our arrogance." Sang listened, her expression neutral. "We need your help," In continued. "Not because we deserve it, we do not, but because billions of innocent people are dying, children, families, entire civilizations erased from existence." "And you think humanity has some weapon that can stop this threat?" Sang asked. "We think humanity has something we lack," In replied. "The ability to think differently. Every Council species approaches problems the same way. We use the same technology, the same tactics, the same strategies. It is not working. Perhaps fresh eyes, a new perspective." "No," Sang said. In bowed his head. "I understand, thank you for seeing me." He left. The delegation returned to Council space empty-handed. 2 months later, another delegation arrived, then another. Each time, Earth's answer remained the same: no. Wu argued in private strategy sessions. "We should help them, not for the Council's sake, for our own. These Devourers will not stop at Council borders." "Then we will face them when they come," Sang replied. "But we will not sacrifice human lives to save people who considered us beneath their notice." "That makes us no better than them," Wu argued. "No," Sang corrected, "it makes us practical." The debate raged in Earth's government halls, but the decision held. Humanity would not intervene. Then came the personal message. Queen herself transmitted directly to Earth's government. Her image appeared on President Sang's screen, and the change was shocking. The arrogant young queen was gone. In her place sat a woman aged by grief and responsibility. "President Sang," began, "I do not come to you as a queen requesting aid from an ally. I have no right to call humanity an ally after how I treated your people. I come as someone who made a terrible mistake and watched billions pay the price for my pride." She paused, gathering herself. "7 years ago, I stood before the Galactic Council and humiliated your diplomat. I mocked your species as primitive. I laughed at your achievements. I was wrong. Not just wrong about your capabilities, though I was certainly wrong about that. I was wrong to believe that technological advancement gave me the right to treat any sentient being with such cruelty." Sang watched, her expression unreadable. "Since that day, I have lost 12 worlds. Over 40 billion citizens are dead. I have watched our greatest warships torn apart like paper. I have given orders that sent millions of soldiers to their deaths, knowing they could not win. And every night, I remember that human diplomat walking away in silence, more dignified in his quiet departure than I have ever been in my entire reign." His voice cracked slightly. "I am not asking you to save us because we deserve it. We do not. I am asking because I have nowhere else to turn. If you refuse, I will understand. It would be just punishment for my arrogance. But please know that I am truly, deeply sorry for how I treated you and your people." The transmission ended. Earth's government voted again. This time the result was exactly split, 50% for intervention, 50% against. President Sang sat in her office, the tie-breaking vote in her hands. She could order Earth's fleets to remain home, safe from a war that was not theirs. Or she could send them into battle against an enemy that had destroyed civilizations far more advanced than humanity. Before she could decide, another message arrived, this one from Europa, from Ho. "I am coming in," his message said. "I have been working on something. A theoretical weapon based on the data from the derelict ship commander Bora found. It might work against the Devourers. It will require every ship we have, and many will not return. But I believe we can stop them." Sang read the message 3 times. Then she opened a channel to Admiral. "Mobilize the fleet," she ordered. "All volunteers, no conscription. Anyone who goes into this fight goes by choice." "And if we do not get enough volunteers?" asked. Sang smiled grimly. "Admiral, you are asking about humans. We have never been good at staying out of fights, even when we should." She was right. Within 48 hours, 60 ships volunteered. Crews competed for positions. Soldiers demanded to be included. Engineers and scientists abandoned their safe research stations to join the fleet. Ho's shuttle arrived at Earth 3 days later. He looked older, worn down by years of isolated research, but his eyes were sharp, focused. "Show me," Admiral said. Ho presented his weapon. It was elegant in its complexity, combining ancient alien theory with human engineering. The quantum resonance pulse would disrupt the Devourer's multidimensional existence, forcing them fully into normal space where conventional weapons could destroy them. "The problem," Ho explained, "is range. A ship has to get within 500 meters to deploy the pulse effectively, and it requires massive power. The ship deploying it will be defenseless for approximately 30 seconds. 30 seconds against an enemy that can tear apart dreadnoughts," said. "Yes," Ho replied simply. "Then we better make those 30 seconds count." The human fleet assembled near the border of Council space. 60 ships, each crewed by volunteers who knew the odds. Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable, reviewing final preparations. Captain commanded the Prometheus, humanity's most advanced experimental vessel. Her ship carried the first fully functional quantum resonance weapon. If Ho's theories were correct, she would fire the shot that proved humans could fight the Devourers. If he was wrong, she would die in the first 30 seconds of combat. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer announced. Opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Prometheus. We are entering Council space in 2 minutes. Remember the plan. Get in fast, hit hard, and protect each other. If someone's ship gets disabled, you pull them out. We leave no one behind." "Understood, Prometheus," came the replies from 60 ships. High General, coordinating from Earth, watched through real-time data feeds. He had fought in 3 wars during his career. He had seen soldiers march into impossible situations, but he had never seen anything like this. 60 ships preparing to face an enemy that had destroyed thousands. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. Their destination, Prime, the of Queen's Empire. They arrived to chaos. The defense fleet was scattered, desperately trying to hold back 3 massive Devourer constructs. Each construct was the size of a small moon, writhing masses of energy and matter that existed partially in other dimensions. They tore through ships like they were made of paper. Detecting 47 vessels still operational, the sensor officer reported. Civilian evacuation ships fleeing the planet. The Devourers are breaking through the inner defense perimeter. Watched the battle unfold on her screens. They fought bravely, but their weapons were useless. Energy beams passed through the devourers without effect. Missiles exploded harmlessly. Even ramming attacks accomplished nothing. "All ships engage," Admiral ordered. The human fleet dropped out of FTL directly into the combat zone. No warning, no communication. They simply appeared and began fighting. Targeted the nearest devourer construct. Weapons, prepare quantum resonance pulse. Navigation, get us within 500 meters. "Captain, that thing will tear us apart," her helmsman said. "Then fly better," replied calmly. The Prometheus accelerated, weaving through the battle. The experimental ship used micro-jumps, tiny FTL hops that lasted only fractions of a second. The technology was dangerous, barely tested, but it allowed the ship to dance around the devourer's attacks. 300 meters, 200, 100. "Fire," ordered. The quantum resonance weapon discharged. Reality rippled outward from the Prometheus. The devourer construct flickered, phasing in and out of normal space. Then, for the first time, it became fully solid. "All ships target the construct now," shouted. 20 human vessels opened fire simultaneously. Conventional weapons, the same kind that had failed the fleet, struck the devourer. This time they worked. The construct shuddered, pieces breaking off, energy bleeding into space. It took 3 minutes of concentrated fire, but the devourer construct collapsed, imploding into nothing. On her flagship, Queen watched in stunned silence. "What did they do?" "Unknown, Your Majesty," her science officer replied. "But the humans have destroyed a devourer construct, the first confirmed kill in the entire war." Ambassador Yang stood beside her. "They came," he said quietly. "After everything we did to them, they came." The battle continued. Human ships used their new FTL technology to move in ways they had never seen. They appeared, struck, and vanished before the devourers could respond. It was not elegant. It was brutal, desperate, dangerous. 2 human ships collided during micro-jumps and were destroyed. Another took a direct hit protecting a cruiser. But it worked. The Prometheus destroyed 2 more devourer constructs. Other human ships, equipped with less powerful versions of the weapon, damaged several more. The tide of battle was turning. Ho watched from his science vessel, coordinating the attack. He saw patterns in the devourer's movements, predicted their behavior. "They are adapting," he transmitted to Admiral. "They are learning to resist the quantum resonance. We need to finish this quickly." "How quickly?" asked. "Minutes, not hours." The Admiral made a decision. "All ships concentrate fire. Forget the smaller constructs. Hit the primary mass." The largest devourer construct hung near Prime, slowly consuming the planet's atmosphere. It was massive, easily 10 times larger than anything else on the battlefield. Every human ship turned toward it, every weapon charged. "This is going to hurt," muttered. The Prometheus led the charge. Behind her came 59 other vessels, all flying straight at an enemy that had destroyed entire civilizations. It should have been suicide. But the fleet saw what the humans were doing. Queen saw it. "All ships," she commanded, "support the human assault. Give them everything we have." The fleet battered and bloodied. They could not hurt the devourers directly, but they could create a screen, drawing fire away from the human ships. They could sacrifice themselves to buy seconds. And they did. 7 dreadnoughts threw themselves into the devourer's path. They were torn apart, but they created an opening. The Prometheus and 5 other human ships made it through. 6 quantum resonance weapons fired simultaneously. Reality screamed. The devourer construct became vulnerable and found itself targeted by every ship in the battle. Human and weapons fired together, the first time the 2 species had fought side by side. The construct began to collapse, but as it died, it lashed out. Energy tendrils whipped through space, grabbing ships at random. The Prometheus was caught. Hull breach on decks 3 through 7, the damage control officer shouted. Life support failing. Felt her ship dying around her, but the construct was dying too, just a few more seconds. Keep firing, she ordered. A cruiser, already heavily damaged, positioned itself between the Prometheus and the Devourer's death throes. The construct's final attack destroyed the cruiser instantly, but it saved the human ship. The Devourer construct imploded. The explosion was silent in space, but brilliant. Light and energy washed across the battlefield. When it faded, the Devourers were gone. The survivors began counting their losses. 18 human ships destroyed, 23 severely damaged. They had lost 31 vessels. But they had won. For the first time since the Devourers appeared, they had won. Admiral opened a channel to the flagship. This is Admiral of Earth's Deep Space Fleet to Queen. We have received a priority communication. You requested to speak with Diplomat Ho. Is this still your wish? On her flagship, stared at the debris field. Human and ships destroyed while protecting each other. She thought about the cruiser that had sacrificed itself for the Prometheus. She thought about the human ships that had thrown themselves into impossible danger to protect her world. Yes, she replied, if he is willing. The message was relayed to Ho's science vessel. He stood on his small bridge, looking at the holographic display showing the battle's aftermath. He had not set foot on a ship in 7 years. He had not spoken to any official since walking out of the council chamber. Wu's voice came through his communicator. You don't have to do this. I know, Ho replied. She humiliated you. She mocked our entire species. I know that too. So why are you considering it? Ho was quiet for a long moment. Because 43 human ships are destroyed or damaged, their crews deserve to know it meant something. If talking to her can turn this victory into lasting peace, then I will talk. You are a better person than I am, Wu said. No, Ho corrected gently. I am just tired of fighting. He sent his response to the flagship. I will meet with Queen, her location, her terms. The reply came within minutes. The Queen will come to you, with your permission. Queen's shuttle arrived at Ho's science vessel 12 hours after the battle. The small human ship had no grand receiving rooms or ceremonial halls, just a cramped docking bay and narrow corridors. Ho met her at the airlock. She stepped through alone, no guards, no advisors. For a moment they simply looked at each other. 7 years had changed them both. Ho's hair had gray streaks now. Lines marked his face from years of isolated work, looked older than her 33 years. The arrogance that had defined her was gone, replaced by something harder and sadder. Thank you for seeing me, she said. Ho gestured toward his small office. This way. The office was barely large enough for 2 people. Charts covered the walls, equations scrawled across every surface. A single window showed the stars outside. They sat across from each other. Neither spoke immediately. Finally broke the silence. I came here to apologize, not as a queen to a diplomat, as one person to another. She paused, choosing her words carefully. But first I need to ask you something. Why did you come back? After everything I said, after the council abandoned you to irrelevance? Ho had known this question would come. He had thought about his answer during the long flight to Prime. Because it was the right thing to do, he said simply. That cannot be the only reason. It is the only reason that matters. Ho leaned back in his chair. You asked me once to show you something humans had achieved that surpassed technology. I could not answer you then. I can now. Waited. We do not help people because they deserve it, Ho continued. We help because they need it. That is what makes us human, not our ships or our weapons, our refusal to give up, on each other, on ourselves, even on those who have wronged us. You are saying your greatest achievement is compassion? Asked. No, our greatest achievement is understanding that strength and compassion are not opposites. The Empire has power, But you forgot that power without wisdom is just destruction. We learned that lesson the hard way, through wars and mistakes and centuries of suffering. Was quiet, then slowly she stood. In culture, what she did next was unthinkable. She knelt. Wait, Ho said quickly, standing. You don't need to. This is a traditional apology, interrupted. No monarch of my empire has performed this gesture in 4,000 years, but I must do it. I must. No, Ho said firmly. He reached down, taking her hands and helping her stand. That is not necessary. I do not need you to humiliate yourself the way you humiliated me. Looked at him, confused. Apologies are not about punishment, Ho explained. They are about understanding. Do you understand what you did wrong? Yes, said immediately. I judged your entire species by their technology. I dismissed your value as people because you had not achieved what my civilization achieved. I was cruel for no reason except pride. Then that is enough, Ho said. You understand, you regret it, you are trying to do better. What more could I ask? Sat back down, visibly shaken. Most people would want revenge. The council certainly would if our positions were reversed. I am not most people, and humanity is not the council. They talked for hours, spoke about the 7 years since Ho left Arcturus Prime. She told him about watching the first worlds fall to the Devourers, about giving orders that sent millions to their deaths, about the guilt that consumed her every night. I remember your face when you walked out of that council chamber, she said. You showed no anger, no pain, just calm dignity. That haunted me more than if you had shouted or fought back. I was angry, Ho admitted. Furious, actually. But I learned long ago that some arguments cannot be won with words, so I walked away. To build weapons that could save us, said. To build technology that could protect humanity, Ho corrected. Saving you was a side effect. A small smile crossed his face. You are honest at least. Always. Then I will be honest too. The Council wants to offer Earth full membership, not provisional status. Full membership with seats on the High Council. They want to offer technology, resources, territory. They want an alliance. What do you want? Ho asked. The question caught off guard. What do I want? Yes, not the council, not your advisors. You, what does Queen want? She thought about it. I want to ensure this never happens again. Not the Devourers, though they are still out there, but the arrogance, the cruelty, the assumption that advancement gives us the right to look down on others. She met his eyes. I want to learn from you, from humanity, how to be better. That, Ho said, is something I can help with. 3 months later, the Galactic Council reconvened on Arcturus Prime. The chamber had been repaired after a Devourer attack that came dangerously close to the capital world. Representatives from across Council space gathered. Queen stood before them all. She was not on her high throne. She stood on the main floor, at the same podium where she had humiliated Ho 7 years earlier. I call this session to order, she began. I have a proposal to present. Earth, representing humanity, should be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, including seats on the High Council. Murmurs ran through the chamber. This was expected. What came next was not. Before we vote, I must tell you all something. 7 years ago, I stood in this chamber and humiliated a human diplomat. I mocked his species as primitive. I laughed at their achievements. I questioned why we had admitted them at all. The chamber fell silent. I was wrong, completely, utterly wrong, and my arrogance nearly cost us everything. When the Devourers came, it was humanity who saved us, not because we deserved it, not because we had earned their help, but because they chose compassion over revenge. She let that sink in. This council has operated on the assumption that technological advancement equals superiority. We measure civilizations by their weapons, their ships, their scientific achievements. But we have forgotten something crucial. Technology means nothing without wisdom. Power means nothing without responsibility. Advancement means nothing without compassion. Looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from hundreds of worlds. Humanity taught me that. They taught me by walking away when we treated them with contempt. They taught me by building themselves up instead of tearing others down. And they taught me by returning to save us when they had every reason to let us fall. She paused. The vote for Earth's membership should be unanimous. But more than that, I propose we reform our first contact protocols. Every species that approaches this council should be treated with respect, regardless of their technology level. We should judge civilizations not by what they have built, but by how they treat others. The vote was unanimous. Ho was offered the position of Earth's permanent ambassador. He accepted, but only with one condition. Wu would serve as co-ambassador. Earth would be represented by both of them together. President Sang approved immediately. On the day of their formal installation, Ho stood at the podium in the council chamber. The same podium where he had been humiliated. The same chamber that had laughed at humanity. But now he stood as an equal. As a representative of a species the galaxy had learned to respect. Members of the Galactic Council, he began. I stand before you not with anger for the past, but with hope for the future. Humanity has learned many lessons in our short time among the stars. We learned that strength comes in many forms, that advancement is measured in more than technology, that the greatest civilizations are not those with the biggest weapons, but those with the biggest hearts. He looked at Queen, who watched from her restored throne. We also learned that people can change, that mistakes can be forgiven, that former enemies can become trusted friends. Queen and I have agreed to work together on new first contact protocols. We will ensure that no species ever faces the humiliation humanity endured. Applause filled the chamber, not polite formal applause, genuine appreciation. After the session, approached Ho in the corridor. That was a good speech. Thank you, I practiced it only twice this time. She laughed. It was nothing like the cruel laugh from 7 years ago. This was genuine, warm. I meant what I said about working together, she told him. I have much to learn from humanity, from you specifically. And I have much to learn from the, Ho replied. That is the point of this council, is it not? To learn from each other. It should be, perhaps now it will be. They walked together through the halls of the council building. A human and a diplomat who had been humiliated and a queen who had learned humility. Behind them came Wu and Ambassador Yang, already discussing logistics and schedules. That evening, Ho stood alone at the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Wu joined him. Do you ever think about that day, she asked, when she humiliated you? Sometimes, Ho admitted. Does it still hurt? He considered the question. No, it taught me something valuable, that how people treat you says more about them than about you, that dignity is not given by others, it comes from within. Very wise, Wu said. I have a wise friend who taught me that. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the devourers still existed. New challenges awaited. But for the first time in 7 years, Ho felt something he had not felt since walking out of this very building. Hope. The galaxy was not perfect, the council was not perfect, but they were trying to be better, and that, Ho thought, was enough.